Syntec is it's an adhesive that works on just about everything except EVA. It doesn't work on crate. But if you get a plastic shoe or a vinyl shoe, even a thermoplastic, you can put that Syntec on there, and you've got a very short open window, 5 to 10 minutes, press it together. Otherwise, you're going to have to heat activate it. That one you heat activate. So if it's over 10 minutes, hit it with some heat, then press it together. In fact, that reminds me, I'll show you something. This is with Syntec. Has anybody ever seen that paper, leather type stuff that comes in your shop these days? It's not real leather. You'll go, and nothing sticks to it. You can't put a sole protector on it, nothing sticks to it. I take the Syntec and I prime it. Okay, I've tried priming it with everything else. Syntec's the only thing that I have found that works. So you prime it, you let it dry about 10, 15 minutes, probably 15, 20 minutes actually is what I do. And then I put my adhesive on both parts. Okay, then I'll put my adhesive on the sole protector or the sole, whatever you're going to put on there. And then I'll put the adhesive on top of the Syntec. Now, I took a pair of pullers and pulled this back so you can grab it. But I just want you to see how well this is bonded to that cardboard leather, whatever they call it, like a bonded leather. Just pass that around the room.
Well, it seems like a primer.
Syntec is an adhesive. It's a polyurethane adhesive. You can use, if you're resoling something that has polyurethane, and you're going to resole polyurethane to polyurethane, this adhesive, did anybody ever use chloroplast years ago? Familiar with chloroplast? Any vinyl cement? You treat it the same way. You treat it the same way.
How do you apply it? What's the best way to use the applicator to get the
I use those German glue pots, the ones that tip on the side, you know, the plastic ones.
Glue balls.
Cloudy white ones?
Yeah.
Jim,
Cloudy white ones.
the quad comes with a brush inside.
Yeah, Ortec, if you buy it in the quart.
And the Syntec.
Or Syntec, sorry, Syntec. It has a brush in it you can use.
Jim, how do you recognize PVC?
PVC. PVC.
Right,
How do we
anti-fire.
recognize PVC? It melts into a big goo ball when you sand it. Looks like napalm. My dad, when I was a little boy, I used to stand and watch him sand on the machine, and it'd be a big, hot mess coming down off the shoe, and I'd stand there. I was just watching, maybe 10 years old. We didn't have the HRS back then, or whatever they're called. And he gave me that big hot glue ball. He said, "Here, son, hold this for me till I'm done sanding." And it was so hot, it took about 10 seconds to get from here to here.
If you had a shoe with a PVC sole and you're going to put a crate buildup on it, how would you do it?
Okay, here's what we do. When you sand that PVC, what's happening, it's polyvinyl chloride. There's a chemical, a chlorine chemical in that material. When it heats up, it rises to the surface, and that causes the melting. So after you've sanded it down, you can use Syntec, but if you're going to do a build-up, you can use Polyclone and Master Multi-Purpose are the only adhesives designed for PVC. These will not work on PVC. Okay, this one will. After you have sanded the PVC, like for instance a Doc Martens PVC, all right, clean it with thinner. Take a rag. After you sanded it, clean it with thinner. That gets all that chlorine off the top of the surface. All right.
Can you use acetone also?
Acetone's fine to use. Thinner or acetone. After you've let it dry about 5 minutes, now you can apply the Cologne and whatever you're going to bond to it, to that product as well. And then 15 minutes, you're ready to stick it together. Now on PVC, no primer on PVC. Just clean it with thinner or acetone. I do like to let it dry overnight. One important thing about bonding, and it doesn't matter what adhesive you use. There's lots of good adhesives on the market. Green strength. Anybody heard of green strength?
Yeah.
Okay, your green strength is how strong that bond is getting over a period of time. When we stick something together, sometimes we're going right through and we're starting to trim it and sand it and go with it. You know, somebody's waiting on it or whatever. If you can let something sit for about 40 minutes, no matter what adhesive it is, about 40 minutes, it reaches about 98% of its green strength after about 40 minutes. So if you've got a shoe that wants to come apart, you know, or seems like you're able to pull it apart, let it sit 40 minutes, or even overnight. And it takes about 2 days or so to reach 100% of its green strength. But after about 40 minutes, you're going to see a big difference in when you start trimming and cutting on that shoe.
That's after the two pieces have been
After
bonded.
the two pieces have been put together, that's when the green strength starts. So if you've got a big work boot with a big vibram sole you're putting on there, you let that thing sit for 40 minutes before you start sanding it and heating that sole back up. Let that glue really start getting some strength built into it. That's the chemistry part of it that we never really knew. I didn't even
Same thing apply with leather as well, or just rubber?
everything.
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 Gotta have a press.
Sorry?
Gotta have a press.
A press helps. If you have a press, definitely. I've got a press. I mean, if you don't have a press, hammer it on and use your welt pliers or 5-in-1, whatever you have. But I recommend. Renia makes a product. It's in a little bottle and it's got a blue label. It's called Hardener. Okay? Now, I want to tell you what not to do with the hardener. You don't pour it in your glue pot. Okay? Because the next day when you come back to work, you're going to have a brick. And then you're going to throw away the glue pot. Now, don't be like my brother. When you pour the glue into a separate container, don't use styrofoam. Get you like a New Life lid or something that's almost empty, or some kind of a little plastic container. Pour about as much of adhesive that you're going to need for this glue job. And you want to add about 5% of the hardener. How much is 5%? I have no clue. Just put a little in there. Okay. You know, a little dab here, a little dab there. You're getting close. If you're between 3 and 7%, you're okay. You're just not going to do half. You can figure that out, right? All right. I can at least do that. Now, you're going to stir it together. Okay, it's going to turn a little bit of a different creamier color. But everything is fine. It's going to work just the same. There's nothing else you have to do. Apply the adhesive as normal. Let it dry overnight. When that hardener dries, it's not going to make the shoe hard and the flexibility different. It's going to be the same. But what is it going to do? It is now made a protective barrier with the adhesive for several things. Heat. You got somebody working on an asphalt, on a roof. You got somebody that's working in a kitchen, getting grease in their shoes all the time. You got a fireman running through. And this is going to protect that bond from coming apart, from heat, from grease, from oil. Hardener can come in very handy for those types of jobs. So if you get somebody in with a buildup, and he's a chef at a restaurant, you know, I ask when I'm doing a buildup, what kind of work do you do? Well, you know, if it comes in with a work boot, what kind of work do you do? Well, I work in a garage. I'm a mechanic. Well, I want to use hardener when I put that buildup in the sole, so I don't have to worry about that boot coming apart.
You said let it dry overnight before you sand it.
Before I sand it, yeah. Once you bond it together. Now, if it's polyurethane and you're using hardener, it's the same thing I told you before. You use the green after you've mixed all that hardener in with the glue. Now it's just nothing's any different. When you sand that polyurethane down, put the green primer on, now you can use the glue with the hardener in it. Put it on the same way. It's not going to be any different. Yeah, you can use a dauber. You can use a dauber, or go get some cheap paint brushes or get a dauber. I've used daubers. But he's right. If you've mixed a little bit too much, it's okay. If you've got other work to do, go ahead and put it on. It's not going to hurt anything. Yeah, just use it up. Just don't pour it in glue pot. You only want to pour it in what you're going to throw away.
Is the mastered multi-purpose and Renia the same product?
Yes.
Are
Yes.
they the same price?
It depends on who you're buying it from. Everybody's different. Yes, hardener can protect against anything that could hurt the adhesive. Anything that could break down adhesive. Water, oil, heat, grease.
If I want to keep my shop toluene free, is the proper solvent / thinner available
for that?
Yes, Renia makes their thinners are toluene free. So if you're thinning this out with a Renia thinner, or if your wholesaler doesn't carry Renia thinner and they carry Masters multi-purpose thinner, that's Renia thinner as well. And it's toluene free, so you're not putting toluene back into the product. Let me tell y'all something real quick about the Max Bond. This is the new one out on the market. I don't know if anybody's heard about it yet. I've been using this for a few months in my shop. I have bonded polyurethane with this with no primers. It's safe. It's extra insurance to use this. Now, when I've done brand new polyurethane in my shop so far, when I've used this, and I've tested it and let it sit overnight, sanded it, and it bonds just about everything with no primers. So far, I've found. It's toluene free, it dries clear. It's the most incredible adhesive I've used so far. I really like it. Master Max Bond. Now, it does cost more, but it saves you $25 to $30 with super glue per gallon. Bond. If it's too confused, if it gets confusing, which it does, because it took me a long time when I had somebody explain it to me years ago, and then I gave up because just too much toluene over the years. This is an easy adhesive to use. It's almost like a tricycle.
Winner of the Year award.
Max Bond.
That was a setup, what?
You can. If you ever have problem with polyurethane, though, I would recommend, this is extra insurance. If it's been worn before, I would definitely use this. I have used this on brand new polyurethane to do build-ups, and I have, next day, I can't pull it off.